Hey guys, what's going on? It is Dan Lags, and welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to be reviewing my experience on the Black Ops 4 beta. So if you're looking at the title, you probably already know how this is going to go. That's a general overview of my thoughts on the game. But I wanted to still go through and talk about everything I liked about the game, stuff I didn't like, stuff I want to see in the full release. So let's go into it. First off, I played the game a ton. I played a ton on PlayStation 4. I played both weekends, pretty much every day. I also played a little bit on Xbox. What you're seeing on the screen right now is actually from my live stream. This is Xbox gameplay. I was unable to record any of my PlayStation gameplay this weekend, so this is the only gameplay I have available for you guys, and that's the reason why you see my face cam there. That's actually not me talking right now. I don't want this to be too confusing, but this is taken from my live stream, so even though you guys see me on the screen, that is just from my stream, so that's why my face cam is there and everything. But, you know, it's a good gameplay for the background of this video, so that is totally okay. So anyway, yeah, I played a ton on the game, mainly on PlayStation. Got to max rank on PlayStation pretty quickly. Pretty much like I hit 25, and then they upped it to 34, hit that. Then they upped it to 40, hit that. Used pretty much all the weapons in the game, all the perks, all the kill streaks, a lot. Made sure that I, tested everything, I guess, for Vonderhaar. That's kind of the point of the video. You gotta test everything. So I used everything. So I feel like I have a pretty solid opinion on my thoughts on the game and how I think the game plays. So I also played against, a plethora of skillful players. So I played against some really good players on the first weekend. It was really sweaty. And then second weekend, there was a lot less, or I guess there was more noobs on the game. So I ran into some more newbie players. So I got a good mix of playing against really good players and not so good players. So that's also really helps when you're kind of like diagnosing your experience on the game. So the number one thing that stood out to me in this game when I started playing it was all the things that I thought was going to suck about the game actually ended up being things I really liked. And these are all the things that were announced initially at their first reveal event, I guess, that when they were revealing all the secrets about the game finally for the first time. So things like manual health regen, that was something that I really wasn't so sure about when I first heard about it. That might be one of my favorite features of the game. I just think that it just creates this extra layer of responsibility when you're running around. I thought it was going to be clunky and there's just too many things going on, too many moving parts, but I think it adds a lot to the game. And I think it also creates a little bit of a skill gap because some, less skilled players, they might forget to heal in a pinch. They might not know when the best time is to heal. There's a bunch of different things you can do with that. You can use the stim shot, which allows you to heal faster, and that's really good for rushing. You can use just the regular one with some other equipment, so you're not going to have as much access to regen. So you kind of just have to play it, and there's a lot of different play styles that go into that, and a lot of different scenarios that I think make the game a lot more fun. So I actually really like the manual health regen. I think most people liked that feature as well from what I've seen around YouTube and Twitter and things like that. So definitely a thumbs up for that from Treyarch's front. Vondi really killed it on that one. 5v5 was another thing I was really skeptical about, and I am not skeptical about that any longer. The game is fast-paced, lots of action, especially in the objective game modes that are 5v5. TDM is 6v6 anyway, so that didn't even change. Tons of fun. I have no issues with that. In fact, I think it's even better maybe than 6v6 because each player has more of an impact on the game. The less players there are in the lobby, the more each player has an impact, if that makes sense, right? Kind of like in basketball, LeBron James has way more impact on a game because it's 5-on-5 as opposed to a football player because it's 11-on-11, you know what I mean? So that's just kind of the example I would use. I like 5v5. I think it's perfect for this game. Next up is the slower time to kill, 150 health. That was something that I was really skeptical about, probably the most skeptical about, and I have no problems with it. In fact, I like it. I think the higher time to kill creates a little bit of a skill gap. It rewards accuracy. If you're able to stay on target longer, you're going to win gunfights more often than not, and I think that helps a lot, especially for a player like me where I pride myself on having good accuracy in the game. So yeah, that's another feature that I thought was really good. And something that I thought I was worried about, but I actually really like. And that's kind of the key for me when I was playing this beta. And the reason why I like it so much is because I was almost proven wrong in terms. I like to be proven wrong in certain cases. And this is definitely one of them where I thought that I was skeptical about these things, but Treyarch really made it work. So that's great. And then the last thing that I wasn't sure about was that you could only choose one specialist per team, one of each specialist. And this is another feature I think is really great because it almost creates roles for each player on the team. And to me, that's a lot of fun because back in Black Ops 3, when I was ever playing with my party, when I was playing with Tyler, Steven, whatever, we'd pretty much all run Firebreak or Scythe. We really wouldn't deviate too much from the kill streak specialists, I guess you could say, the ones that can get you a lot of kills. But in this game mode, we all have like a role that we play. So when we were playing the control game mode, I was using either Crash or Recon. Tyler would use the Seraph for the spawn beacon. Steven would use the Torque for the barbed wire and the barricade. So we were all kind of working together to complete the objective, and we all had our own roles to play, and that was a ton of fun. So those are all the things that I thought were going to suck that ended up being great. So let's talk about the things that I liked about the game other than those things. First off, the score streak buff from week 1 to week 2. I think one of the things I hated about week 1 was that the score streaks were pretty much useless. In week 2, they buffed them significantly. I found after using all the score streaks a lot, like I called in all the score streaks a lot of times. Like I got like 10, 15 gunships. I made sure I used everything a lot, so I got a good amount of data on it, I guess you could say. The gunship was the top kill streak. That thing is really solid. It's probably good for like a minimum of 5 kills, maybe a maximum of 12, which I think is pretty decent. I would like to maybe to be buffed a little bit, but I think the main issues with that streak are just the maps are covered by a lot of like random stuff like highways and trees. So it makes it a little bit harder to hit people as opposed to like Modern Warfare 2's AC-130 where all the maps are wide open. So yeah, that was cool. The gunship's great. The strike team, at first I thought the strike team was awful, but in week 2, the strike team was putting in work for me. That thing was dominating the lobbies. I was impressed by the strike team. So that was great. The Hellstorm is good. The Lightning Strike is good. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with what they did to buff the kill streaks from week 1 to week 2. That's a good sign. And I would like them, honestly, to even continue to buff the streaks. The stronger the streaks are, the better, because if you're getting them, they're a lot of fun when they're doing work. Next thing is weapon balance. I think this game probably has some of the best weapon balance off the start, off the rip, I guess you could say, pretty much in any Call of Duty I can remember. So each weapon has its own unique attachments, and it kind of plays to the role of that weapon. So for example, not every AR in the game has stock. So there are some ARs where you have to play a little bit more passive, and they would probably be a little bit too OP if they did have stock. For example, the Rampart 17 was one of the assault rifles that did not have stock. If that thing had a stock on it, you could probably get a lot more aggressive with it and utilize its time to kill at close range more, and it would probably make it a little bit too strong. So I think that's a really interesting way to balance weapons in this game, is by giving all the weapons different attachments. I thought that was really cool. Some people were complaining about how not every AR had stock, and as much as I abuse stock on ARs most of the time in pretty much every other Call of Duty, I was okay with this just because I thought it kind of created a role for each weapon. So if you wanted an AR with stock, you could use like the Vapor or the ICR, I believe had stock. I'm not 100% sure about that. So like those were kind of the ARs that you would use if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive and get up in people's faces, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's going to help a lot for the competitive side of the game. I think we could see a lot of weapon variety in this game more than most years. Like for example, World War II competitive, it's pretty much only the PPSH and the STG and the BAR. Those are the only 3 guns you'll ever see. I think this year there's potential that we could see like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 guns used in the competitive rotation as opposed to like 2 or 3. And that sounds great to me in terms of a spectator. So I think the weapon balance is great in this game. It's probably, I don't even think they need to make that many changes to the weapons. I think that the ABR-223 is a little bit too strong, the burst rifle. But other than that, the weapons are pretty solid in terms of balance, at least in my opinion. The PIC-10 is back, is another thing I like. Back from pretty much all the other Treyarch games, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. After the restrictiveness of the division system in World War II, happy to see it back. Another thing was lack of nade spam. So the way you had to put a frag grenade on in this game is you had to replace your specialist equipment, and it actually counts as a point on your PIC-10 class. So there's almost like a penalty to using frag grenades in this game. And because of that, there's not a lot of nade spam, which I think promotes the objective play. I just think it makes it a little bit more controlled. And I like that a lot. There's nothing more annoying than getting like nade spammed and like forcing, you have to run flak jacket on every class. That was kind of how it was in World War II. And it gets kind of tiring after a while. So I like the fact there was not really any nade spam in this game. And if you wanted to use nades and explosives effectively, there were specialists for that. So I'm totally fine with the specialists having really strong nades because you're sacrificing your specialist slot for that ability. So I think that's really great. I love that feature of the game. Next up is the shotguns being secondaries and them being not that strong. After World War II, having to deal with the fire shotgun all year, I'm happy that the shotguns aren't that good. Of course, I want every gun in the game to be balanced, and the shotguns might be a little underpowered, but they're also secondaries in this game, so they shouldn't be busted and OP like they were in MW2. I think the shotguns in this game actually require some skill to use if you actually want to use it as a primary weapon. They're not just like easy kills at close range. You actually kind of have to work for it, and it makes it a little bit more skillful. And when I was using the shotguns, I was actually having fun because it was a little bit more challenging. So next up is the control game mode. Absolutely love it. This is what I played 95% of the time throughout the beta weekend. with my friends. And this game mode really promotes kind of like choosing your specialist wisely and teamwork. And when you were playing with a party like I was, it was a lot of fun to be able to. It was really rewarding and fun to be able to kind of control the objective and push a team back and be able to outslay. Because this game mode is cool because it's a combination of objective play and also slaying, and be able to take out the other team's lives. And this is the second straight year that Call of Duty has released a cool new game mode. Last year with World War II, we got the War mode, which was awesome. So I'm happy that Call of Duty is continuing to innovate their game types and add new ones every year that are really fun. So big fan of Control. Next up, we got the specialist roles. I talked about this a little bit, so I won't go into too much more detail, but having to be able to pick only one specialist per team, it kind of creates a role for each player in the lobby, and that's a lot of fun, especially when you're playing with a party. It's like, oh, I'll run recon. It's like, oh, I'll run crash. You know, like, oh, I'm a really good crash. I'm a really good recon. It's just fun. It's a good aspect of the game to be added, and I think it creates a lot of fun situations that we didn't see in Black Ops 3 when specialists were first released, so I like that a lot. And then this is the last thing, guys, for my things I liked in the game. And this is probably my favorite new feature of the game. And this is the assist counts towards the kill. Nothing is more frustrating in Call of Duty when you got a guy absolute one shot and then your teammate slides in and cleans up the kill and then you don't get the kill. That is no longer in this game. If you just shoot a dude and your teammate kills him, you guys both get the kill for it. To me, this is a great feature because it promotes teamwork, it promotes team firing on players, and it's also just satisfying that you don't have to completely finish a guy off to get the kill for it. It's definitely a little noob friendly, and it helps noobs get kills. Like, it almost makes them feel better because it looks like they're doing better than they are doing. But to me, I absolutely love this feature. And my friends and I, we were doing a lot of like pushing together and shooting like multiple players at once, and we'd all get the kills for it, and it was just really satisfying. We'd all get a laugh out of it. So that's my favorite feature for sure. So now let's move on to the things that I didn't like in the game. This is not a long list because I had so much fun playing the beta. Number one is the body armor, and this was way worse in the first week. I think they did a good job balancing it in week 2, but it's still kind of annoying, and it creates inconsistency in gunfights. If it was up to me, I wish they would just take the body armor out of the game completely, and then also you would have to remove the AP rounds attachment. I just feel like running AP rounds on the weapons is almost like a crutch right now to counter body armor because so many people run it. But I also like the fact that they made it so you get extra score for killing a player with body armor. Love that feature. That's a good way to balance it as well. So we're definitely way better in week 2, and it's tolerable now. But in week 1, it was brutal and very frustrating. So ultimately, I would like them to just completely take it out of the game. But if they don't, it's kind of okay in its current state. Next up is the Ajax shield. This is one of the specialists, and this guy's just annoying. He's a riot shield with like a minigun attached to it. Super insane. It's not like it's necessarily overpowered. It's just really annoying to run into. So that was it was just one of the things that annoyed me. I didn't necessarily not like it. All right, so next up is this is the biggest one. No hater. No Blackbird type streak in this game. This to me sucked, honestly. I really wish that this will be added in the main game. This is one of the things that this is probably the number one thing that I want added to the main game when it does come out. I want to see the hater, the VSAT, the Blackbird, the SR-71, whatever you want to call it. I want to see the kill streak in the game that lights up the minimap with all the players' arrows so you know exactly where people are for 30 seconds. I want to see it back in the game. It wasn't in the beta, which worries me. I really hope it's going to be in the full game. That's my favorite kill streak. And to me, you can't have a Black Ops game without the Blackbird. Black Ops 1, 2, and 3 all had a streak like this. Come on, Vondi. Please add it in Black Ops 4. Please. Next up is something I talked about already, but it's like the maps are covered up by lots of debris, highways, trees, buildings, whatever you want to call it. So that makes some of the aerial streaks not as effective, like the Hellstorm and the gunship. So maybe just clear some of the random stuff that doesn't really affect the flow of the map, so it's open a little bit more, so the streaks can actually do what they're intended to do on certain maps. For example, a map like Gridlock, the entire map is covered by like this huge highway. So you can't, when you call in an AC-130 or a Hellstorm, you basically can't even see anybody on the map. So like, what's the point? So I would like maybe it's just to redesign that stuff. It's probably not going to happen, just wishful thinking, but that was just something I noticed. Another thing is the score streak variety in terms of like the score streaks in the game. Pretty much all the streaks in this game have been in other Black Ops or other Call of Duty games. Obviously the gunship is the AC-130. The Mantis is the Cerberus from Black Ops 3. You have, of course, UAV, counter UAV, but those are pretty much standard. Hellstorm and Lightning Strike, both from Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. So they really didn't get that creative with new streaks, which is a little annoying. But as long as they are effective, I'm not really going to be bothered by it. But I just wish they would have been a little bit more creative with adding new streaks to the game, personally. The strike team is pretty similar to the paratroopers, so I can't even say that's really unique either. And finally, the heist game mode. I just really wasn't feeling it. It just, to me, it seems like just a rip-off of CSGO. If I wanted to play CSGO, I would play CSGO. I played a couple games of the heist. I really wasn't feeling it. I know a lot of people like it. It's just something that I personally wasn't feeling. It just didn't seem like Call of Duty to me. And if I was going to fix the heist game mode, I'd probably make custom maps for it, kind of like the war game mode in World War II. You know, World War II's war game mode had custom maps specifically for that mode. I think that's the way they should do it for heist as well. Maybe you have to like breach a door, or you have to be sneaky in order to get the extraction point. Just something, so it just feels like search and destroy with the buy menu. And I don't know, I just thought it was kind of weird. I didn't really have that much fun playing it. And that's pretty much it for the things I didn't like. Moving on to the things I want to see when the game fully releases. First off, the hater, the SR-71. Please, Vonderhaar, please add that to the full game, please. If they add that, I'll be in love. Theater mode, I want to see theater mode back again. It's been in the previous 3 Black Ops games. Add it back for Black Ops 4, 100%. Combat record. Every Black Ops game's had a great combat record. I want to see that back, and I assume that they will add something like that. I want to see more than 9 maps at release. I want to see 12 plus maps. I know honestly the 6 maps that were in the beta were all pretty solid maps. I liked them all. There was some I liked more than others. Like for example, Contraband I think is an elite map. Gridlock I think is just okay, not great. But 6 maps in the beta is good news, because I'm hoping that we're going to get 12, 13 maps when the game fully releases, including like Jungle and Firing Range and Summit. Oh, it's going to be great. So guys, that's my full review of the Black Ops 4 beta. If I'm going to give this game a rating, it's a 9 out of 10. I absolutely love the game. And I'm telling you, if this Blackout game mode is a hit, we could have something here. This could be a really, really popular game for years to come. So I loved the multiplayer beta. I'll give it a 9 out of 10, like I said. And now I'm waiting a couple weeks for the Blackout beta to come out. We're going to play test that one as well. I'm going to try to stream that. It's going to be great. So thank you guys for listening to my little ramble about Black Ops 4. I had a blast playing it. Shout out to my friends who played with me. It was a ton of fun. And yeah, guys, it's been DanLags. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like. Let me know what your thoughts on the Black Ops 4 beta were if you did play it. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. No. Where's this last guy? 2 versus 1. He's over here. We got him. What a comeback. 78 and 22.